Please stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting for the school town of Speedway for the 13th of September 2022. We are working from a 12-item agenda this evening. The first agenda item is to approve the minutes from the last meeting of 9th of August 2022. Yes,
I move that we approve the minutes of the August 9th meeting.
thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or comment? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes from last meeting, please signify. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. The second agenda item this evening is to approve legal and financial policy services.
Thank you, Mr. President. The recommendation is to authorize the superintendent, myself, to utilize policy analytics to provide professional services to create current and detailed information regarding the gross assessed value and net assessed value of real and personal property contained in the school corporation, and to utilize ICE Miller, to provide professional services regarding current and detailed information of political demographics of the school corporation, and to advise and guide the school corporation, the school board, regarding its opinions for future local property tax base funding. This basically says that we are looking for we've used these groups before in the past to give us guidance on what the future property taxes are going to look like, and this will drive our decisions for long-term planning for safety and further educational situations and environments for our school corporation. This is important for us to know what the future may hold, as if anybody has noticed, inflation is real across the board. So the more information we have, the better, and this really will start our process of a long-term plan of what we're doing for our facilities and basically our property and what we have. We do have a brand new building of 1963, Speedway High School. Again, I keep saying that, that's our new one. Shovel in the ground in 61, class there in 63, fall 64. And again, we've added on some buildings, but things are continually that we have to assess and we continually have to repair. So we have some items across the corporation that once we put our heads together and our teamwork to see what's first, what's second, what's third, that's going to be a very close future idea of what we need to do. We already have a general idea, but this is going to give us the information of what we have and what money, income, and revenue we'll get from tax, basically the tax-based funding.
Thank you.
I'll move that we approve the legal and financial policy services.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Is there discussion or commentary about the approval of legal and financial policy services? Would all those in favor of approving the superintendent to take action on these items, please signify. And that passes unanimously. The third agenda item this evening is to update school policies based on information from ISBA.
Thank you, Mr. President. ISBA has updated language to the following policies that were required to receive federal funds, such as ESSER funds. Currently, we're being audited, and these three need to be updated after discussion and possible approval from the board. The three are time and effort, travel and expenses, and retention of records. My recommendation is to approve these three policies.
Could we take them one at a time?
Yeah, let's do that.
So, move on one of them and we'll, yes,
I move that we approve the new employee travel and expense policy.
thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion on the employee travel and expense policy?
I think that, yes, I think there's some things, we've got a couple things that need to be revised or amended. And so I don't know, Robert's rules require an amended motion once we talk about these things. So a couple of the things in particular, or I guess the things in particular, would be that we would add the word approved in the second sentence, so that the corporation will pay all legitimate costs for employees to attend approved out of state or out of corporation meetings. And then secondly, in bullet number 2, the IE there should be in EG. There's certainly, we're not limiting to those three forms of transportation, and in fact, some of the ones that we would most likely, that would most likely be involved are not included, so I think that's the easiest way to do that. And then in item 4, dealing with food costs, that we would include before the semicolon, a comma, not to exceed the prevailing per diem, and then semicolon. I think with those three things, I would support this policy.
I agree with those amendments. I think it makes sense.
So do you consider them to be friendly?
Yes.
And Mr. Smith, same?
Yep.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions about this travel policy? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Would all those in favor of the amended travel policy please signify? And that passes unanimously. Excuse me.
Then secondly, I move that we adopt the federal time and effort reporting requirements.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on the federal time and effort reporting requirements policy? Hearing and seeing none. If all those in favor of approval of the federal time and effort reporting requirements, please signify. That passes unanimously.
And I'll make the motion on the third because I'm going to suggest something that needs to be changed as well on it. So I move that we would adopt the federal grants retention of records policy with the following amended language, and that is in subpart B, there's an omission. So when blank is, and it should be when the school corporation is notified. Other than that, it seems fine. There's some spacing that could be fixed down here, but it's not, doesn't affect the meaning.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amended policy as moved? Okay. Then would all those in favor of the retention of records policy please signify? And that passes unanimously. The fourth agenda item this evening is a presentation on the 22-23 enrollment.
I gave you the most updated enrollment in your packet. Speedway Schools currently has 1,845 students. That's changing. It changes almost daily. One of the interesting things, if you look at the enrollment across the board, is that we're pretty balanced in the elementary schools class sizes, except for in our kindergarten. There's our two largest kindergarten schools currently are Allison and Newby at 24 each. We've recognized that, and we've added a paraprofessional in each one of those buildings to help. And we're continually monitoring that. But the rest of those class sizes in our elementaries are exactly where we want them to be, in the high teens, very low 20s. The junior high is currently as high as it's been ever, and at least since I've been here, which is a long time. 317 students in our junior high school and 567 at our high school. So our secondary schools are quite large, what they've been in the past. We are currently going through our ADM is this Friday. The average daily membership is this Friday, and that's how we get we give the state the number of students in our district, and that's how we get funded. So I'm sure that number will change before Friday. Currently, we are doing formative assessments in each one of our buildings, and I will tell you that our first assessments that came back from the elementary school they're actually better than they were at this time last year, which is great news. The secondary schools are using NWA, and we haven't got all the results back from that yet. But I can tell you those assessments, the purpose of those is to take a look at where we are, the snapshot in time, and we change our instruction or look at what we need to do to make improvements in our instruction. So things are going well. We're going to continue to monitor that kindergarten situation, but things are going well with our enrollment at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions concerning the enrollment report?
If you'll notice, one of the things on there, our largest building's always been our high school. Our second largest building's always been Wheeler. Our third largest building has always been Allison. But currently it's the junior high, and then Newby, and now Allison. So Newby is now larger elementary building than Newby is, or than Allison is at this time.
That's crazy.
Good thing we added those spots.
And I was going to give credit to the wisdom of this board that, at that time, to see what was going to really happen, so.
All right.
What does, when we talk about having a paraprofessional helping with the kindergarten, what does that actually mean?
So they are trained, or we train them in reading. We train them in math and how to teach that to smaller groups. So it's, it'd be nice to put someone in every room. But that is, first of all, it's hard to even find people this day and age. We were lucky to find 2 people to fill as it is. It's not beyond adding a teacher, but then you've got a whole nother set of problems when you do that, is you're going to add it to one building and not another. And then do you separate classes fourth of the way into the school year? So
that's a person that's dedicated to working with the 2 kindergarten classes in each of those schools?
Yes. When we added that paraprofessional, one of the directives was they need to stay with the kindergarten. It's not going to go to the other grade levels, because that was our highest, it still is, our highest grade level in our district.
Any other questions about the enrollment report? Okay. The 5th agenda item this evening is to approve Ameriflex plan renewal and a maximum deduction change.
Mr. President, the IRS has allowed us to increase for $2,400 to $2,750 for employees for a flexible spending account. Overall, what we're talking about is Ameriflex, the employees who enroll in this flexible spending account, which is FSA, most of us know that, can experience tax savings on eligible expenses such as co-pays, deductibles, prescriptions, over-the-counter medicine, thousands of other health items. It's a great benefit to our employees. We've been at $2,400 for quite some time. With this increase, we can give this to our employees at $2,750 for them to be able to utilize this benefit. I regret to inform you, I don't have that exactly in front of me right now, and we should be getting that at any moment, but my recommendation is to give the superintendent and board president authorization for the Ameriflex increase.
Yes?
I move that we authorize the superintendent and board president to approve the Ameriflex plan renewal.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there discussion or commentary about this? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the renewal of the Ameriflex plan would so signify. That passes unanimously. The sixth agenda item this evening is to approve the school safety grant.
Well, I'm happy to report the Indiana Department of Homeland Security has awarded Speedway Schools $25,000 match. I regret to inform you, last year we had $100,000, this year we only had $25,000. I guess the secret's out because the whole state of Indiana has applied for this thing. We have been putting safety doors in, safety in our school corporation for, the 4 years I've been in central office, starting at Allison, then Wheeler, Newby has them now. The high school is now complete, at least functional, for their security doors to where we can keep people and monitor them during the school day, not to just wander throughout the building. This was written a couple months ago. I was hoping for the $100,000, but because of the wisdom of the board, we decided to go ahead and approve in the capital asset plan to cover anything extra. And after doing this once in a 1961 building, the junior high is I'm going to call it a 36 building. Even though Speedway schools I know start in 1928, but 1936, there's always things you run into, problems. So with this situation, this grant for the $25,000 match, I believe we can do it with our asset plan to move forward to do the junior high and Fisher Elementary, to do similar to what we did for the high school, to have a single point of entry. And I think we can just remodel that first room and get this done even cheaper than what we did for the high school, even with inflation. So my recommendation is to approve the secured school safety grant for $25,000 with the intention of safety at the junior high and Fisher Elementary.
I'll make a motion to approve the school safety grant as
Thank you.
presented.
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the school safety grant?
Thanks to whoever did the work on getting the grant.
That'll be done during the summer.
Interesting. Yes. 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 Yeah. So with that, we'll bring a architect or a plan to you next month to approve that. And we're hoping to start just like we did last year, somewhere after spring break, and then finish it up by the beginning of the school year.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions? Would all those in favor of approving the acceptance of the school safety grant, please signify? And that passes unanimously. The seventh agenda item this evening is a presentation of the high ability plan for us to review.
Good evening. Tonight, I've included our district high ability plan for your review and consideration. This document is one that we make available on our website for parents and community members who may have interest in how we identify and serve our high ability students in Speedway schools. We have many high-achieving students in our district, but when I refer to high ability, I'm referencing the current 133 total students in our district whom have been identified as gifted. This student group makes up about 7% of our population. I did bring some additional information that I should have included in your packets, but I just thought of it. I thought you might find it interesting. Apologies.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the information I just passed to you just breaks down our population by grade level, also by gender and ethnicity. When originally developing this plan, I aimed to make it compliant with the required components from Indiana Code. I also wanted to make it concise and transparent. If a parent is interested in learning about how we identify students, I really want that to be clear and available in a manner that any parent could understand, and one in which they don't have to sift through a full manual to try to understand the process. So the high ability plan that was in your packets is an 11-page document that I think keeps things pretty concise and covers all of the required components. Over the years, we've refined this plan, and the version you have tonight has very few recommended changes. The changes now include just editing to reflect that our current assessments are accurate and updating meeting dates and assessment dates throughout the school year. However, just because our recommended changes to the plan are minimal, it doesn't mean that our work in meeting gifted student needs is done. The program goals listed on page 3 highlight areas that require continuous improvement. As an example, we have a goal about supporting our staff members in learning differentiation techniques to meet the needs of our learners. And I don't think that work is ever done. A couple of weeks ago, we had our broad-based planning committee meeting that included some parents, teachers, administrators, and some high-ability students. We used a program evaluation rubric and compared it to our plan and rated ourselves or rated our district in each of the required areas. That process helps reveal that the task of meeting student needs and teacher needs is never done. And there are areas that we need to continue to strengthen to make sure that we're pushing our gifted students as far as we can. But with that said, there's much to celebrate, and I'm continuously in awe of how our tiny school district finds creative ways to program for kids. And so importantly, how our teachers really strive to meet every student need, whether they have a label of any kind or not. So with that said, that's our summary of our plan. I'd be happy to take any questions or comments about what I've shared.
Any questions or comments?
Not really a question, but we just finished OG training. Can you talk about that and what grade levels and what
Sure.
that brought to the table for all kids, not just high ability, but
We've done a couple of bigger training initiatives over the past few years. There's Orton Gillingham, which is really focused on our phonics instruction. Also this year, we're bringing in a partnership with Smeckens to strengthen our writing. And I think that as we talk about professional development for teachers and meeting high ability needs, it's complicated because we have to have a strong core to meet the needs of all kids. And so when we bring in something like our writing professional development initiative that we have going on right now, that strengthens writing for everybody, but that helps gifted students along the way. So for elementary, it's not as easy as sending all of our elementary teachers to a one-day PD on meeting the needs of high ability students. We really have to have kind of ongoing structures and things available to help our teachers in that manner. But yeah, so those are two kind of core curriculum initiatives that we've had going on that I think all kids benefit from.
because I believe what Speedway schools do extremely well is the instruction part of actually the schooling of students. So when we talk about best practices, kind of a cliche, everyone says it, but what I see in our school buildings when I walk around the elementaries is like what you're talking about is the differentiated instruction for the writing, for the reading comprehension. And just today I was in Allison and I was in the teacher's lounge and they were getting their 12 minutes of lunchtime. And like there was a teacher, they were talking about the writing PD, and they were also doing writing rubrics, actually doing them right there together during their lunchtime. So it's a real thing that happens, and people want to know the magic pill of Speedway in general. And it's really about the instruction from the teacher to the student and all of our support staff. So I just want to say thank you to you, because you two, both John and Andrea, have set up all these amazing PD opportunities for all of our teachers, not just a certain few, that you really can see the results in our classrooms. So that is just one thing. So that was my 2 cents.
Yeah. And I think, and now I'm commenting on my own presentation, but because of our neighborhood school design at the elementary and how important that is to us, you can see on this data sheet, currently at first grade, we have 6 total students who are identified as gifted. So that doesn't mean that we're only pushing 6 students. But the reality of creating a classroom or a building to house those 6 students isn't realistic. So our program design for how we service high ability students is different at elementary than it is when children get to junior high or high school and they can take those honors level courses. So we've gotten really creative. We have a pull-out program with Mrs. Bailey, who's a high ability teacher that's been super helpful, but we do rely on our PD for elementary has to look different because all of our gen ed teachers really have to feel confident in meeting a wide variety of needs. And that's not an easy check mark. That's an ongoing improvement situation.
Are these, so like in particular with the elementary numbers, are those 6, so first grade, 6 students, are those 6 students that are high ability in math and language arts, or is that math or language arts?
And or. So some of those students would be designated in both. They call that general intellectual, and some would just have one or the other. I didn't break it down on this chart by which one. When teachers get the information, they do see what the child's been designated at. But to make it on this list, they would just have to test in that percentile in one of the areas. Our overall total of 7%, or 7.25, the day I made this, is actually a comfortable number. So the state would say you'd really want to aim between 4 and 10%. If you have less than 4%, you're probably not identifying enough. But if you're getting to that 10%, you may be at too many, just because of the overall percentage of population of people who are truly gifted in one or more areas. You want to mirror that. So that 7% is a comfortable number for me when I'm looking at how we're identifying kids. I also do want to comment that one beautiful thing about our school design is that you don't have to be identified as gifted in order to take higher level classes. So we have many high achieving students who haven't quite made this designation that are still taking multiple AP classes or taking honors classes.
Probably, right?
Most,
I mean, if we're talking about
correct.
7%,
Exactly.
then it's got to be
You're exactly right.
most of the students doing that.
Any other questions or comments on the high ability plan?
I just want to say that I'm impressed with the page that shows us some of the breakdown by race and ethnicity, and the fact that as our demographics are changing, those numbers are changing.
Me too.
And I just think that's super critical to acknowledge. And I imagine that, the closer that we can get to those numbers being the representative numbers of the percentages, the better. And we're certainly getting closer. And so.
Yeah, we want to be proportionate, and the way that we identify students is done blindly. It's a blind committee, so we're purely going on numbers on the assessments that we use. So the fact that we're not examining ethnicity and still getting closer to our goal, it makes me excited as well.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For
Thank you.
presenting the plan.
Thank you.
Our 8th agenda item this evening is to renew property damage and professional liability insurance coverage.
Before we jump into this fun, Ms. McIntosh, if you'd like to leave, you're more than welcome to leave. Please feel free to do that. Jason Rich is the Vice President NFP, which is our point person for our professional liability insurance and property damage. Just to start off, he predicted with inflation or whatnot for this. We renew this every year, and every year we try to get it under, I don't know, I try for 0%, but it always comes back a couple things. Our assessed value, so first of all, Jason said we'd probably be around 22% increase, like the rest of the state. Our assessed value for our property, 50, was increased from 78 million to 96 million with a 22% increase. So that's kind of a base. That's a pretty big jump for us, like everybody else in their houses here in Speedway and their homes, for good reasons too. But we started off and we started negotiating. We went out to a little further reach this year than we have to look at Liberty Mutual and some other companies. We got it down to 15-20%. And that was okay, because the average, like he said, was going to be somewhere between 17 and 22% for schools. We had some other things such as market conditions, our value increase, and we had a few cases that we had to deal with in the last few years. So we got down to 12%. We went back, and he did a phenomenal job, and we got down to 7.8% increase. So we started around 22%, to be transparent. We got down to 7.8%. We've been at a low number, and I keep telling you, this is the third year in a row I've told you, hopefully we'll get back to 0 next year, but I'm just wishful thinking, and we're hopeful to do that. So the recommendation is renew the property damage professional liability insurance covered with Liberty Mutual, and that's the recommendation.
Thank you.
I move that we renew the property damage and professional liability insurance coverage.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion about the renewal of the property damage and professional liability insurance? If all those in favor of the renewal would please signify. And that passes unanimously. The ninth agenda item this evening is an acknowledgement of the grants received. This month's total is $201,456.07. The 10th agenda item this evening is to approve the personnel report.
In your packet is the personnel report for this September. There are 3 resignations on that report. Tyler McDonald is a custodian. Erica Hunteman is the secretary of Speedway High School, and Jessica Johnson, who had a temporary teacher contract at Speedway Junior High School. On the employment side, Rob Davies is being recommended to be the boys' assistant tennis coach at Speedway High School. Carol Estrada, the new secretary at Speedway High School. Sarah Ackerman is taking a specialist projects at Speedway Junior High School. And Jessica Williams, new teacher at our high school, is going to take over the multicultural club at Speedway High School. My recommendation is to approve the personnel report as presented.
I move we approve the personnel report as given.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion on the personnel report? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approval of the personnel report as presented, please signify. And that passes unanimously. The 11th agenda item this evening is recognition of visitors and other business. Is there any other business to come before the board? All right, fair enough. Then we will adjourn to approve claims. Thank you all very much.